For many people, Megan Fox is instantly associated with the Transformers movie franchise and the iconic scenes that earned her the title of the most beautiful actress in the world. But behind that glamorous image, Megan has struggled with one major issue. She has a hard time holding back her thoughts. And one interview in particular ended up completely derailing her career. From an early age, Megan was determined to make it in the entertainment industry. At just 5 years old, she began studying theater and dance. Even then, people were telling her parents she had the talent and presence to become a star. That's why, in 1996, when she was 10, Megan and her mother moved to Florida. They settled in St. Petersburg, where Megan lived with her mother and stepfather after her parents divorced. Unfortunately, her stepfather was extremely strict and aggressive. He enforced harsh rules and sent her to a Catholic school. She wasn't allowed to invite friends over or even have a boyfriend. In later interviews, Megan openly spoke about the emotional abuse she and her sister endured, which eventually led to eating disorders and manic depression. Despite the chaos at home, Megan started modeling at age 13 and quickly found success. Within months, she won several awards at the AMTC competition in Hilton Head, South Carolina. That success opened doors to more commercial work, still on a local level, but she kept developing her acting skills. And let's be honest, her beauty definitely helped her stand out. At 15, she landed her first acting role in the Mary-Kate and Ashley movie, Holiday in the Sun. It was a teen film, and Megan played a supporting character, but it gave her a small foothold in Hollywood. Still, those years were far from easy. She had no friends, and the situation at home continued to take a toll on her mental health. Soon after her first film, she appeared in the TV series Ocean Avenue, where she had a more prominent role. That experience gave her the confidence to move to Los Angeles at 17. She left traditional schooling and switched to correspondence courses. As she later admitted, the move was something she desperately needed. She began landing more roles, mostly in low-budget productions, but her breakout was just around the corner. Things began to change after a minor role in Bad Boys 10, where, even as a teenager, she was sexualized on set. Her name wasn't even included in the credits, but that's where she met director Michael Bay. 3 years later, after working in several TV shows, Bay invited her to audition for a lead role in Transformers. Megan got the part, starring alongside Shia LaBeouf as Michaela, and from that moment, her career exploded. She became one of the most in-demand actresses in Hollywood. After the release of Transformers, she appeared on nearly every magazine cover and was hailed as the sexiest woman alive. But ironically, Megan later said that being viewed purely through a sexual lens didn't sit right with her. There were multiple disturbing instances where she was blatantly sexualized during interviews. It was gross, frankly, but beyond those moments and the men's magazine covers, she also landed lead roles in movies like Jennifer's Body and How to Lose Friends and Alienate People. Still, her most important project was clearly Transformers, and she reprised her role in the sequel Revenge of the Fallen. That's when things took a turn. After the film's release, Megan participated in a photo shoot and interview for Wonderland magazine. When asked about working with Michael Bay, she compared him to Hitler and Napoleon, calling him unbearable on set, though she added that he was a nice guy in private. She also accused him of having a complex about skinny women, saying she had to gain at least 10 pounds for the role. Another bizarre demand? That she be perfectly tanned on camera. That interview, published in September 2009, had serious consequences. Executive producer Steven Spielberg reportedly demanded that Bay cut ties with Megan. She was already set to begin filming the third installment of Transformers, but her comments, especially the Hitler comparison, deeply offended Spielberg, who is Jewish. According to reports, he personally pushed for her immediate dismissal. Bay later discussed the situation in a 2011 interview with GQ. And if you know anything about the film industry, It won't surprise you that Spielberg's influence is enormous. For a while, he reportedly blocked Megan from getting roles in major productions, and, unfortunately for her, it worked. Over the next 4 years, Megan appeared in a string of box office flops like Jonah Hex and Jennifer's Body. The media began to label her as difficult to work with. On set, she was described as arrogant, self-centered, and uncooperative, and she didn't help herself either. Megan publicly slammed Hollywood, calling it a factory that churns out Barbie dolls. She criticized the promotional materials for Transformers, saying they focused on her body rather than her acting ability. In her view, the constant sexualization was the reason people dismissed her as a serious actress. She believed she wasn't given credit for her performances and was only seen as eye candy. Spielberg seemed determined to keep her away from high-budget productions, and the roles she did get were mostly secondary. Around that time, people started noticing drastic changes in her appearance. First, she altered her nose and lips, which became especially noticeable in an Armani ad campaign. By 2014, she was going overboard with Botox. When asked about the plastic surgery, Megan claimed the industry demanded it. Interestingly, it was around this time that she reconciled with Michael Bay. He seemed to extend an olive branch, likely realizing her career had stalled after Transformers. In fact, she didn't land a single role for 2 years. Bay cast her as the lead in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, giving her career a temporary boost. The movie had a $125 million budget and ended up grossing $485 million. For a moment, it seemed like her star was rising again, but it didn't last. After the first Turtles movie, she didn't get any major roles until the sequel, which came out 2 years later. That film, however, was a critical and commercial disappointment, earning just $110 million and facing widespread backlash. At the same time, Megan was constantly compared to Angelina Jolie, who, like Megan, was once viewed as the ultimate sex symbol in Hollywood. The difference was that Jolie successfully transitioned to serious roles. Megan, on the other hand, seemed desperate to hold on to that image. As a result, her appearance changed drastically. She started experimenting more and more with her face, and frankly, she seemed lost. After 2016, she no longer worked with Michael Bay, who shifted focus to projects like Six Underground and Ambulance. Megan's relevance in the industry began to fade. She ended up taking roles in indie films, sometimes appearing in 3 to 5 low-budget movies a year. To be fair, a few of those projects performed decently on streaming platforms, like Till Death, Night Teeth, or Expendables 4. But none of them came close to the level of Transformers or even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Many people believe that if it weren't for her public image as the sexiest woman alive and her high-profile relationship with Machine Gun Kelly, she'd be modeling and nothing more. In their opinion, that's all she's really suited for. And there might be some truth to that. She's been nominated for Worst Actress 4 times and even won the infamous Razzie Award in 2010 for Jonah Hex. Her relationship with MGK has also been full of controversy. So has Megan herself. At times, it seems like she deliberately stirs things up just to stay relevant. One example, in a Glamour interview, she claimed that she and MGK participated in a blood-drinking ritual, saying it helped cleanse their relationship. Unsurprisingly, that didn't go over well with the public. These days, when Megan Fox is in the headlines, it's rarely because of her films. It's more often due to her chaotic relationship or the bizarre controversies she generates. In 2023, she published a book titled Pretty Boys Are Poisonous, in which she talked about being exploited by men in the industry and described past relationships where she was the victim of abuse. The book received mixed reviews. Some accused her of playing the victim, saying that she willingly agreed to many things just to land film roles. Personally, I think that's a ridiculous take. Still, one can't help but wonder, How would Megan Fox's career have turned out if it hadn't been for that infamous Wonderland interview, the one that drove a wedge between her and both Bay and Spielberg? Because ever since that moment, she's never truly returned to the big leagues. To many, she's now considered a fallen star. But her story is a textbook example of how brutal show business can be, how it can tear down everything someone worked their whole life to build, sometimes in just a few minutes. Maybe if she hadn't been so heavily sexualized in her early roles, she could have achieved much more. Let us know what you think in the comments, and that's it for today's video. Take care, and see you in the next one. Bye.